Good afternoon, my fellow Villa Parkians and all friends of the Villa Park Oktoberfest. Before we start today's festivities, we would like to take a few minutes to remember that dastardly attack on September 11, 2001. We of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, Villa Park Post 2801, will conduct a short remembrance of that horrible event. We ask you to join us. Color Sergeant, please present the colors. If you would stand up. Color Sergeant is Tim Conley, commander of VFW Post 2801 this year. The color bearer is Steve Prescott, retired Navy commander and a member, our quartermaster to the VFW this year. And the other guard is Jerry Hughes, who has been a lifelong member of Villa Park and a VFW member for longer than he'd care to admit. I am also a lifetime resident of Villa Park. I am Sid Bergh, and I am a World War II veteran. Now please join Tim Conley in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. The flag, Old Glory, represents us all. Tim?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have a moment of silence and reflect on the some 3,000 humans who perished on this date 15 years ago, and remember those of our heroes who are still suffering the effects of that thing. Thank you. And now a few words from our village president, Debbie Bullwinkel.
Thank you. First, we'd like to thank, we have some dignitaries here with us today as well. Senator Tom Cullerton, he is here with us today, along with Liz Chaplin, who represents Villa Park and other communities on our DuPage County Board. We also have Nick Cazzone, our village trustee. So would also like to thank them. We have some other folks from our fire department, our chief, and some folks from the police, and they will be also reintroduced a little bit later. As I reflect on this day, I think one thing we can all think about and have in common is we probably remember where we were at and what we were doing 15 years ago today when the tragedy struck. I was just starting my day and I was listening to the radio, so I was getting my day in order, and I heard about a plane. At first I thought it was a small passenger plane that had hit one of the towers. And as I continued to listen to the reports, I started to realize, as everybody else, that this was probably a little bit more. So I ran upstairs and turned on my television, and that's when I started seeing the footage of what was going on at the World Trade Center. I picked up the phone and I called my mother. And just as she got on the phone, the second plane hit. And that's when we realized that this was a really, really big deal. For a lot of reasons. We also realized that when we thought about it, my brother, Sean, had just graduated from boot camp on August 26, 2001, 101st Airborne, U.S. Army. And at that moment, we realized what was going to come later on. He ultimately did 2 tours in Iraq. Thankfully, he came home physically, okay. But there were so many people on that day that didn't make it home to their families, and they were doing what the rest of us were doing, just starting their day, going about their daily business, making a living for their family, going to school, taking kids to school, whatever it was that they were doing. So as we sit here together today, 15 years later, and we think about what this means, we're standing here together in support, in unity of each other, and to remember the lives that were lost, the civilians, the first responders, military, and everybody else that deserves to be remembered on this day. We've heard before and we'll say it again, we shall never forget. We will never forget. Thank you.
I will ask the leader of, well, we're going to have both the fire department and the police department represented, because these people put the firemen and the policemen put themselves on the line. They risk their lives for us every day. And let me make sure that I got this right around. Introducing Fire Chief Ron Rakosnik.
Thank you, Sid. It's actually a pleasure to be here. I do have some notes that I'd like to read, and then I'll close it out with the fireman's prayer that I think is very special to me and to the guys that I work with to my right. For all Americans, for all the time, the phrase 9/11 will evoke a special meaning, a memory of a moment in history when the world as we knew it would be changed forever. It is fitting that in every year on September 11th, Americans join together to honor the memory of the people who died that day on 9/11/2001. It is also fitting that we observe a moment of silence, which we have as a tribute to those lives cut short and as a symbol of the empty places left behind in the hearts of those still living. Americans will be meeting like this every September 11th to refresh our national memory of what we learned that day in 2001. Not only that we have enemies in the world who would love to destroy us if they could, but that age-old verities of duty, loyalty, self-sacrifice, and love still have meaning and still flourish in the hearts of the ordinary people we live and work with every day. Some of the facts of 9/11/2001. 19 militiamen hijacked 4 fuel-loaded U.S. commercial airplanes bound for the West Coast destinations. The attack was orchestrated by Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden, the late Osama bin Laden. The timeline, 8:46 Eastern Time, American Airlines Flight 11 traveling from Boston to Los Angeles strikes the North Tower of the World Trade Center, New York City. At 9:03 Eastern Time, United Airlines Flight 175 traveling from Boston to Los Angeles strikes the South Tower of the World Trade Center. 2,753 people were killed when Flight 11 and 175 intentionally crashed into the Twin Towers. Of those 2,753 people, 343 were New York City firefighters, 23 were New York City police officers, and 37 were officers of the Port Authority. At 9:37 Eastern Time, American Airlines Flight 77 traveling from Dulles, Virginia to Los Angeles strikes the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. 184 killed when Flight 77 crashed into that building. At 10:03 Eastern Time, United Airlines Flight 93 traveling from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco crashes in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. All 40 passengers and crew members aboard Flight 93 were killed. It is believed that the hijackers crashed that plane in that location rather than their after passengers and crews attempted to retake control of the flight deck. A total of 2,977 people were killed in this terror attack on America. We must never forget, and I mean never forget, this horrific day in America. In closing, I'd just like to read the Fireman's Prayer. Like I said before, it means a lot to me and the people I work with on a daily basis. And I've been in the fire service for 41 years, been around a long time. So let me just read this, and this will be my closing statements. When I am called to duty, God, whenever flames may rage, give me strength to save a life, whatever be its age. Help me embrace a little child before it's too late, or some older person from horror of that fate. Enable me to be alert and hear the weakest shout, and quickly and efficiently put the fire out. I want to fill my calling and give the very best in me to guard my neighbor and protect his property. And if, according to your will, I have to lose my life, please bless with your protecting hand my children and my wife. God bless America.
Representing our police department that's on duty 24/7, and again, could be risking their lives for us. Police Sergeant Jim Krupp. The name is a little longer, but Krupp, his check writing name is quite a bit longer, but Krupp will say. Jim?
September 11th, I was in the police academy as a new recruit. So for me, it still seems fresh. Today's the day where we remember all those that lost their lives, not just the regular people that lost their lives, but the first responders as well, police and fire. Police and fire, they're a unique bunch. Most people are running away from the chaos. They're the ones running towards it. And that's what happened on September 11th, and a lot of police and firemen lost their lives doing their duty. I also feel that today should also be a day to remember those thousands of Americans that heard the call and became firemen, became policemen, and also joined the military to bring justice to our enemies, which I believe that they've done an outstanding job. But as a police officer and a military veteran, and as an American, I feel it's our duty to make sure that this day is never forgotten. Because I do feel as time has went on that a lot of the country has forgotten what this day is all about. And it is our duty to make sure that that next generation does not forget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. And now we get to the point where there's one gentleman that has served Villa Park as a village president, and now he's our man in the state senate. Let me introduce Senator, what's your name? Tom Cullerton, friend of ours.
Thank you, Sid. It's my honor to be here today. 15th anniversary. My oldest son is 15. He's going on 16 years old. So he was alive when this occurred. And my other two boys were not alive when this occurred. The fact is our generation will remember this. Similar to Sid's generation, will always remember Pearl Harbor. It is another attack on our soil. It was another point in our history that people were called to arms. Sid and his generation did it with Pearl Harbor in World War II. Our generation with officers like Krupp, and I can say his last name, Krupiczowicz, he actually was in the military. I was in the military, serves in the police force. Calling for your country is a great honor. 9/11 spurred that in a lot of people. But we can't let the next generation forget what happened on that day. Forget what happened to our country.
And there was a huge amount of patriotism right after 9/11 happened. Everybody was being so nice to each other. Everybody was treating each other with respect. And a lot of times now, as we move further and further away from that, we lose some of that. So hopefully, as we never forget this day and the feeling we had of watching out for each other right after that occurred, and we can continue to move that forward through our country, through our nation, and through our debates. And while we will always have differences of opinions, civility, patriotism, helping your fellow man is never a bad thing. And again, Chief Rakosnik said it very well, and Krupp said it very well also. Remember your first responders. If you've watched any of the videos that have ever gone on about 9/11, as you see people panicking and running downstairs and running out of the building, if you look on the other side of those steps, you see a brave few people who are actually running up to stop, running up to save other people, while everybody else is in fear and panic running down. There are a group of men and women in uniform who are throwing hoses over their shoulder and running upstairs to try to save people and to try to save those towers. They were not successful, but those are true heroes. And we have many of them represented here today. And that's what you need to remember on a daily basis. Your police, your fire, your first responders are true heroes of our community and protect you every night, protect you every day. So I thank you very much for allowing me to be here. I thank Sid for holding this whole ceremony, making sure that Villa Park never forgets, spreading the word, making sure through the VFW and all of their great works that people never forget. Not only 9/11, but Vietnam, but Korea, World War II, World War I, all of our conflicts. And that standing up for your country is a great thing and is a great ideal. So thank you very much.
And thank you, Tom. And may we ask Almighty God to look with favor upon those we lost. Will the bugler, George, please come forward and sound taps. Johnson. Color team, please retire the colors. And now, friends, we've been solemn enough. Let the festivities resume. Let's have some fun.